my friends. And I apologize for the insane delay. Good Lord. Something funky's going on over on Odysee. And then there was something that happened on YouTube too before I started, so I don't know what the heck's going on. But we seem to be okay. If you're watching on Rumble, Odysee, YouTube, or Twitch, if you could just let me know if everything sounds okay, I'd greatly appreciate it. And that the feed's going through. And if you are watching on Odysee, for some reason it is playing on an old link that's up there called NDE Rebecca Native Indigenous Chief equals Shapeshifting Jesus. And if you refresh my homepage on Odysee, if you're watching there, you should be able to see that link pop up. At least I hope. Actually, it doesn't even seem to be playing there now. I don't think. Or maybe it is. Okay. Anyways, I hope that whoever's watching over there, there's always the alternatives if for some reason you can't find it. Assuming you can hear this on Rumble, Twitch, and YouTube. So, anyways, hello everybody. Happy Saturday. So sorry for the crazy confusion tonight and the delays and all that fun stuff. I try to start on time, but I usually don't. But tonight was riddled with errors. Anyways, before we get started, this channel is for educational purposes only. Welcome back to Forever Conscious Research. All right. So, sorry, everything kind of threw me off tonight. So, we're going to be going over the near-death experience of Vincent Tolman. It's a really wild NDE. It's different. And there's also a coma component that isn't really talked about all that much. And there's something about comas that kind of bring out the interesting parts of the Matrix. And he was in one for 3 days. But before that, I mean, he still was pronounced dead at the scene. He died in a bathroom and ended up being revived when the EMT wasn't supposed to do it. Apparently, he broke protocol, yada, yada, yada. So it's a really, really fascinating case. And to make things even crazier, he worked on a show called Touched by an Angel, and you're going to hear an interesting twist on that one towards the beginning of the experience. Now, what's even more fascinating is that there is a moment in the NDE where he's talking, or Coma, or NDE Coma, and we just don't get, the only problem is we don't get like clarification of the issue with the coma. There's a little bit missing, unfortunately. So just putting that out there. But anyways, the most interesting moment is how he mentions that, quote, I needed to peel away all the different aspects of who I was in the earthly realm. I needed to peel away all the different aspects of who I was in the earthly realm, which when you're listening to him talk about it, he's basically saying, look, I had to strip my complete identity, my knowing, everything about me, in order to leave. That means not come back to Earth. So really, really incredible case. I think you guys are going to love it. It is a little bit long, so we're going to be here for quite a while tonight, but I hope you enjoy it. And I apologize for my voice being a little off. It's not feeling too well. But let's do this. Hope y'all doing well. Hey, Boopster. Hey, Voidwalker. The Priest. good friend the priest D. Great to see you, my friend. And everyone else out there. Let's get rolling.
Welcome to the show, Vinny Tolman. How you doing, Vinny?
I'm doing great, Alex. Great to be here today.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm excited to talk to you about your extraordinary events that happened in your life. Let's just call them.
A bit of a strange experience for sure.
a little bit outside the box, let's say. So before we get into your near-death experience, what was your life like prior to you having that near-death experience?
Prior I had kind of lived the ideal single life. I'd traveled the world, lived all over the world. I actually worked construction primarily, and was able to pick up projects all over the United States, even some projects literally everywhere I could find a contract we could work. And so I got the opportunity to live across the United States and internationally, and even worked for about 3.5 years in major TV and film, just working, kind of worked my way from the bottom of the ladder as a stand-in up to it became a second, and then a second AD. So, it was a fun turn of life. And I felt like I was successful by the world standards, but I didn't feel happy. I didn't really have what I felt was happiness. I felt like happiness was always on the horizon, and I was always chasing it. I didn't feel like I felt I had happy moments, but I didn't feel like I embodied happiness yet. And that was kind of my journey at that time. And part of it was bodybuilding too. So I was an amateur bodybuilder at the time.
So you did a bunch of stuff, my friend.
Yeah.
you were all over the place. I love it. And when you talk about the film industry, you're talking my language now. So I've been in that business for about 30 years. So
there you go.
I know exactly. That's a carny life, to say the least.
It is. Yeah. And I was single. So, being single, it works easy with the film industry. But once you start getting married and want to settle down, it's almost impossible for some people.
The divorce rate in the film industry is extremely high. Extremely high, because it's tough. It's a tough business. So tell me about that day that everything kind of changed for you.
Well, the big thing is me and my buddy, we found some amazing results doing natural bodybuilding with a product that was called Furanone Dehydro. And you could buy it pretty much at a GNC or a vitamin shop, but it was so popular, it was sold out everywhere. And we were trying to get it. We got on all these waiting lists all over town, went online to try to get on some waiting lists. We couldn't get any, and we found there's a place in Thailand that would ship it to you. So we're thinking, I'd lived in Thailand for a few months, and I trusted, their medicine, and they're pretty westernized society there. So I'm like, let's order some. Let's order a bottle. We get it to the United States, but our problem was all the instructions were in Thai. And Thai is a scripted language. It's not even Romanized. And this was before Google Translate. There was nothing to help us translate it. We figured it was the same stuff. We opened the bottle, we smelled it. It's a liquid supplement. You take a little bottle cap of it, and we figured, this is the same stuff we have in the States. It smells just like it, tastes just like it. So we took our little bottle cap worth, but our problem is the overseas stuff. And this was across the board. No matter where you bought it outside the United States, it was 100% solution. But the solution you're buying in the United States at the vitamin shops, they were 95% water and 5% solution of the same chemical.
Yeah, so basically you get screwed in the States versus overseas in the amount that they give you. And I don't think he recalled, he mentioned the exact name of the supplement. But if you happen to have heard it, please drop it in there, because I had a buddy who, I'm not going to derail too much on this, my friends, but I had a buddy who was in the Strongest Man contest. He did really well. And he took some stuff that was over the counter with GNC back in the day. Like some weird stuff was allowed to be legal there for a while. And he ended up having a seizure, passed out. This guy was built like a brick shithouse. Healthiest guy you'll ever meet. Although later on I did suspect steroids use, but that's, this was before then. So the some of the stuff that has been allowed to legally be sold is insanely questionable. I also had a babysitter. This is a little off topic, but kind of similar. I had a babysitter when I was a kid, you know, for like the first maybe 5-6 years of my life while my parents went to work. And she had a son later on in life, maybe about, I don't know, I know I was in high school, and he took something from GNC, went to school, or took the supplement at school in the cafeteria, dropped dead right in the cafeteria. I mean, so there is some crazy stuff out there that's legal or was legal at some point regarding supplements that is really, really bad for you. So it's just, I don't know, just be careful what you're consuming. That's all I'm trying to say.
So our little bottle cap was like taking 20 bottle caps of the American stuff, and you were never supposed to take more than one bottle cap
a day.
And a day, yeah. And so it was instantly toxic for us.
So I have to stop there for a second. So the sentence, "Hey, let's buy some supplements from Taiwan." That sentence alone was like,
yeah, I know.
That alone was like, how old were you during this process?
I was 25. You know,
Fair
in
enough.
your
Okay.
20s. Yeah, you've got to pass.
You've got to pass. You were an idiot. I was too. We were all 20. When we're 25, we're all dumb. Generally speaking.
I definitely concur.
I could speak from the male point of view. We were absolute morons. And you know what? Arguably, I might have done something similar because I also did amateur bodybuilding when I was a kid. I worked out a lot, and I was doing obscene stuff that you could find, all natural, but still like hustling, trying to get that thing that was steroids but isn't steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, right?
The result, but without the side effects, right? Yeah.
So for everyone listening, when you buy medicine or supplements from Taiwan, and you can't read the instructions, don't take it.
Yeah,
that's our lesson today.
Or find somebody who will translate for
who
you.
You trust. Who you trust.
Who you trust. There you go.
Okay, so you take this toxic amount of this supplement, which is fascinating in its own right. What happens?
Well, we each took our little bottle cap, and our plan for the day was we were going to go up to an international auto expo and kind of walk around, and then we we're going to go do a workout and kind of have our normal day. Normal Saturday. It was a Saturday. It was Saturday, January 18th. And so we that was our plan. We each took our bottle cap. We got in the car, and as we were heading out the door, getting into the car, we both felt it. It was hitting us really fast, and it felt almost like a drunkenness. Like literally, it felt like a drunkenness. And I felt cold spreading from around my chest and my thighs, like literally cold. My body was becoming cold. So I said, hey, let's go get something to eat. You know, sometimes if you get a little too much of this stuff, you can get something to eat and it'll make you feel better. So we headed down the street, about 2 blocks down the street, to a Dairy Queen. And we pulled up. My buddy, he was almost falling asleep as we pulled up. So I was like shaking him awake as we pulled in. I remember like reaching over and helping him put the car in park even. He was to that point where he just was almost out himself. I stumbled into the restaurant, made it directly to the bathroom, which was right by the door, went in there, and it was a single-use bathroom. So out of habit, just locked the door. And I proceeded to just passed out right there on the floor on my back. And I began to aspirate or vomit and breathe in my vomit. Literally died right there and then. Meanwhile, my buddy, he goes in, he barely stumbles in, collapses on a booth and starts vomiting all over the booth. The manager of the restaurant comes over and sees this. He's like, oh my God, you know, he calls 911 and gets my buddy hauled away to a hospital. My buddy ends up being totally fine. They pump his stomach. They treat him with a bunch of charcoal, and he gets released out of the hospital the very next day without any problem and no long-lasting effects. But again, meanwhile, nobody knew there was another guy, me, in the bathroom, and I was literally laying there dead on the floor.
And how long were you out for?
So from the time that my buddy came in and they called 911 to get me out of it was about almost an hour. So we know for at least 45 minutes at the most conservative estimate, because it was 45 minutes between phone calls, between the 911 phone call to my buddy to get him hauled away, and then the 911 to come and get this dead body.
Okay. So, all right. So what happened? So that's on the physical side of things. What
Mhm.
happened then when you started to transition?
So for me, from my perspective, what I was watching is I watched the room get very dizzy as I walked in there into that bathroom, and it felt like the whole room started to spin backwards, like literally, like the kind of like in the movies, how it makes it feel like the whole ground. It felt like the whole ground was shaking on me, and it was just me. Of course, I was passing out. The very next moment, I felt like I was like plunged into cool electricity, and it felt very much like a fluid, almost a water, but it wasn't water because I didn't feel wet, but I felt electrified, literally, in a good way. I mean, not in the like scary, but I felt just full of this vitality, this energy, and instantaneously, I was bodybuilding pretty hard. My body was pretty sore, and as soon as I plunged into this cool feeling, 100% of pain was completely gone, and I recognized that instantaneously. But then I recognized also that I was surrounded by just nothingness. Like I couldn't see anything. I could just see darkness. And out of nowhere, I started to see this like fogginess in front of me start to get clearer and clearer and brighter and clearer and brighter. And what it was is it was this scene of this restaurant, but I was looking from above, but I could see everywhere in the restaurant as if there was no roof.
Okay, so the key thing before like we kind of go into all this is that you have to remember that Vincent is, you know, a there's substances involved, right? It's kind of thrown him for a loop, and the world is de-rendering around him, so to say, right? The matrix is, showing itself. The illusion is breaking down, and he ends up in a void-like realm. And this is why I think it's really important to talk about how there is a matrix void, right? I think our true natural state is a void-like realm, and I know a lot of you've heard this before, but it's important to keep saying because we need to create our own void-like realm when we leave here and not be subservient to the false, fake, phony illusion that the matrix puts forward and is more than likely something we're very familiar with. Now, some individuals are perfectly content and fine. They love the void-like realm. And then there are others who, start hurling down the tunnel and going to the light and yada, 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 right? I think there's different things that happen for different reasons. Everything is customized to the individual, which is something all NDE researchers agree about across the board. Everything is customized. And the reason why it's customized is because what the Matrix wants is to make sure that it gives the most optimal experience possible so that you and I and everyone listening complies to it. So really, really important. The next thing is, the problem with drugs, right? The problem with even end of life drugs. I know I've talked about this a lot too, but it needs repeating. I think being or getting to a point of where, look, some of us may die and have pain and a horrible diagnosis or something like that towards the end of our life. But at the same time, this system is designed to get us under the influence on our way out, right? As much as I'd like to, take a few tokes on the way out or something like that, I'm going to try to keep things at a minimum. Now, does that mean that all of us or any of us should be in severe pain? No. But there's also a difference, right? There's a difference between being completely zonked out on hospice or in the hospital and having just enough to, ease the pain where you're not going to be, completely gone. on your way out. Like, I think there is something to be said for that. And I know, look, I love to be high on my way out and just kind of ease out of here. But especially if it's like a painful situation. But I sure as hell ain't going to risk it either. I'm just being honest. I'm just not going to do it. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because it seems that everything that presents itself over and over and over again is when there's drugs involved. And a lot of times it's a lot of drugs that judgment, observation, the sensory kind of experience kind of breaks down, and not in a good way because lucidity is lost. So I'm just saying all this because I think it's important. And there's a glimmer of a moment that we already saw with Vincent where he could have, said, no, I'm not going to deal with it, blah, blah, blah. Here comes the light, right? Here comes the fog, as he calls it. We got to get to the point where none of this is going to happen anyways. And that's where intention comes in as a creator being. Apply it now. Make sure that it's out there in the forefront so that situations like interference and entities and loved ones and Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and Allah or whatever you want to call it doesn't come rolling in trying to convince you under the influence. So, again, make of it what you will, but to me, I'm not going to roll the dice on something like this. I refuse. I'll go down in the worst pain possible. But I will, take a few tokes or whatever the case may be and make sure that I am not completely zonked out, where I'm still lucid enough, but heavily lucid enough that things like drugs are not going to impact my processing. Now, the last thing to go when we leave is our hearing, which I find interesting. I really do. I find it interesting that hearing is the last human sense to go. Anyways, I just want to say all that just to kind of put it out there.
Out of nowhere, I started to see this like fogginess in front of me start to get clearer and clearer and brighter and clearer and brighter. And what it was this scene of this restaurant, but I was looking from above, but I could see everywhere in the restaurant as if there was no roof, like no ceiling, no roof on this restaurant. I could see everywhere in the restaurant. I could see and hear the thoughts, feelings, everything that anyone was feeling in that building. I could perceive literally the feelings of the cook. I could perceive the feelings and the thoughts of the assistant manager, the manager, even the two customers that were eating breakfast, this man and this wife. I could perceive what the man was thinking about, what the wife was thinking about. It was just so surreal. And my background of working in film, I kept thinking that I was watching a movie. I thought, this is very interesting that the director, well, number one, that the DP would actually be shooting this from above. Like, why would he or she decide to shoot this from above? And then also, why would the director or the writer think that I'm supposed to hear everyone's voices? That's just odd. And
okay, so I think what's interesting here is we have further confirmation of someone who took a substance from overseas and it has cloudy judgment. It is very clear that his lucidity levels are not up to stuff, right? They're not up to par, and could cause an issue for someone like us in the know about the whole scam, the deception that's going on here within the Earth realm and the adjacent astral realm. So I mean, this is something, this obviously Vincent's case is unique. It's what he experienced. I get that. But it seems whenever there are substances involved, we are getting clouded judgment. Lucidity isn't where it should be. So, really, do some soul searching on the way out. Make your intentions clear to the nurses, to the doctors, to your family. Make sure they all know what your intentions are. Tell them that you will administer whatever drugs you're going to be taking for pain or anxiety or whatever the case may be. But small doses so that on your way out, lucidity is there. Or if you can, nothing at all. So hope this helps. I really do. I think there's a lot to this. The cloud of judgment thing, it's there. It's there all the time. It is a pattern. So please take that into consideration, my friends.
I'm sitting here trying to process from the paradigm, this must be a movie. And in no way did I think that dead body was me on the ground, because me was completely up here. Me was up here watching everything. There's no possible way that me was down there. It's kind of like if you're driving down the road and you see somebody in a car over there that's your car and they're wearing clothes just like you, you know it's not you because you're over here in this car, right? And that's kind of what I felt. I felt like, that guy's wearing kind of my clothes, kind of looks like me, but it's not me because me's up here. I'm watching this. And I just proceeded to observe everything. I watched them haul away my friend in the ambulance. I watched them call 911 for him. So I died. I must have died instantaneous. The second that I went in there and passed out, I must have died just right then, because I watched them haul him away. And I knew without knowing, I don't know how I knew he was going to be okay. But I knew that this other guy in the bathroom, that he was in serious trouble, that he was gone.
So, okay. So then what happened?
So I watched them call the 911 the second time, and they're on the phone with the operator. The operator is saying, feel these certain areas for a pulse. The manager, he didn't want to do it himself. So he called his like 16, 17-year-old assistant manager over and said, hey, you feel around here, feel it. So he's sitting there directing her to do this. And the second she touched the body, she like cringed and pulled back. She's like, no, it's cold. It's cold. And as soon as they said that, the operator said, oh, don't touch the body, lock the bathroom, secure the door. We have some medics coming on their way, and we've also called police. So they were essentially getting all emergency services there as soon as possible. And it was shortly thereafter, it was only about 5 minutes after that an ambulance pulled up, a completely different one than the first one. And this ambulance shows up. It's a 3-man team. So there's 2 veteran medics, and there's 1 rookie medic. And the rookie is kind of the tag along. It's his first live week on the job, and he's supposed to primarily observe and help out. And somehow I know all this. I just know it from the second they show up. I just know this. It's almost like he carried that as a badge on him, that he was a new guy. They're processing the scene. They attempted preliminary resuscitation attempts. They tried, chest compressions. They tried a little oxygen bag where they're trying to squeeze with their hand, and they weren't able to get anything. Obviously, the body was actually starting to get a little stiff in the legs, so they knew this one was gone. They went ahead and bagged it. They took their time. There was no rush. They were there for about 45 minutes to an hour. While they put the body in the bag, they got statements from everybody who witnessed anything. Which was about 4 or 5 people. All the statements were signed, all the paperwork was signed. Meanwhile, the rookie is sitting in the back of that ambulance while he's waiting for the other 2 medics to kind of process all the paperwork, get all the paperwork signed. As they're doing all of this, he's sitting there back there staring at this body bag and feeling all these feelings that, like, why can't we make a difference for this one? Why am I even doing this? I wish that I could have tried harder. I wish I could have done more. And I felt that consistently coming from him, all the way to the point where the other two medics came. They traded some paperwork with a police officer that showed up right then, and then they began to pull away from the scene. Right as they pulled away from the scene, though, this is where it gets very interesting from my perspective. The heart area of this rookie medic, he's sitting in the back of the ambulance. So the rookie, they have kind of a jumper seat that's in the back that you're right next to the body. He's sitting there. He's staring at the body, but he started to glow. Literally, light started to form around his heart area, his heart space. And I'm looking at it like, And it's kind of funny because one of the shows I used to work on was, Touched by an Angel. So they would shine the lamp over people.
Of course it was Touched by an Angel. Of course it was.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this is kind of like, our Caroline productions where, we put a light over and this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, this is interesting. And again, I'm observing with this almost like intrigue, like, this is interesting to see what's going on. And as this light starts to form there.
Okay, so before he kind of continues, I think it's interesting to point out about the Touched by an Angel. I mean, he's working on a production, Touched by an Angel. There's this new EMT in town, and he's getting, someone who is new to the game, right? They're not necessarily someone who's been on the job for a while and seen a lot of deaths and, like throw them in the bag, let's go, on to the next. You're getting someone who is probably experiencing one of the first on-scene responses to someone who potentially has died. It seems like we see this over and over and over again, that the most convenient person possible just so happens to be waiting in the wings to help the individual. What was one of the cases we talked about last year, the year before? And I mean, there's been many, many others, but the one that really stands out is like, an expert in lightning injuries, and the guy gets struck by lightning in a phone booth. I mean, come on. I mean, it's just example after example of the right individual happening to be there at the right time for the person who's about to have their scripted experience.
There, I felt a distinct energy like pass over me, literally went over my head. And as it did, I perceived that it hit that rookie medic, like in the heart space. And then very loudly, like extremely loud, I heard a loud male voice say, "This one's not dead." And then it was silent again. And I looked around. I tried to look both directions behind me. I couldn't see anything behind me. I could just see just like a dark fog. But again, I could still see very clearly in front of me what was going on inside this ambulance. And I saw the rookie think about it for a second, and then he shrugged it off like, no, there's no way, like there's no possible way. And they went about another block and a half down the road, and that light that was just in his heart area, it actually got brighter and started to grow, and it went from his waist to above his head, where all that area of his body started to glow. And then that voice came a second time, and I felt it the same way as the first time, an actual energy go over my presence, over who I was. And it hit him, but it was even louder the second time. And it said, "This one's not dead." And it just said it like matter of fact. But what was really cool to me is the fact that the second one was so strong, and it was the same as the first, but much stronger. That was enough for this rookie to begin doing something. So the second he heard it the second time, he unzips the body bag. He has to undo these straps on the body just to even unzip the body bag. So he undoes these straps. He undoes two of them, unzips the body bag a little bit. He reaches around the neck area. He's trying to find a pulse. He can't find anything. He reaches under the arm area, can't find a pulse. It's cold, it's stiff, it's gross. And he's even feeling this, like this is a dead body. And he had to undo one more strap. So now we're 3 straps down. He goes down and he was feeling on the inside femur area. And when he got on the inside femur area, he made contact with the actual femur bone. He was trying to feel for that femoral artery, or I always say that wrong, but the femur artery, the one that's near the femur. And he was feeling for that, but he actually made contact with the femur bone. When he made that contact, I felt a spark, like a shock, where I was sitting up here watching this movie per se. I felt a shock, and I saw him jump right when I felt the shock. So I think that he felt it too. And that was enough for him that there's got to be something there. There has to be something there. So he continued to unzip the body bag. He did a couple more straps. He began forcing oxygen into the lungs. Then he also hooked up a defibrillator, and that is for the heart, to shock the heart. And when he hooked that up, it makes this alarm sound right before it shocks the body. So meanwhile, the other 2 veteran medics, they're deep in conversation about sports. They're thinking about like the game coming up, this and that, because it was right before, the big game in the NFL at the time. This is again January 18th of 2003. So they were talking about sports and all this. But when the alarm bell went off, the warning alarm for the defib machine, they both turned back and saw what was going on. And they started to freak out on this medic. They started yelling at him, telling him he's going to get fired. He's breaking protocol. How do you like to be fired on your first week on the job? Just really going to town on him. And he just ignored it, completely ignored it. He let the defib hit. He let it charge and hit. It did not do any result. There was no heartbeat. He went ahead and charged a second time. And again, these medics are chewing him out. They're chewing him out. He lets it go a second time. At the second time, he did get a single heartbeat, one heartbeat, and then it was flatline again. And that single heartbeat was enough to shut up the veteran medics. They completely stopped talking. And they knew something odd was going on here, something very different. And so the 3rd round of shocks happened, which that medic allowed a 3rd round. On the 3rd round, it was a steady but faint heartbeat. Continuous. So he was able to get that heart started back up after the 3rd round of shocks, and
after over an hour,
easily over an hour. And there's some estimates that say it could easily be an hour and a half to 2 hours, factoring in all the paperwork, the time I was in the body bag, all of that. Yeah. So well over an hour, easily over an hour, cold, dead, and stiff. The body came back. Now I was still brain dead. The body was still brain dead. And for 3 more days, I was brain dead. And that's where I had my experience. I had my experience while the body was brain dead.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to also point out that these situations have happened before. They're not new. They've been documented. They're not extremely well documented because they're kind of rare where someone's being tossed in a body bag. But it does occur. There's a case that I remember of someone who was basically being rolled into the freaking morgue. And all of a sudden starts breathing, and the nurse is rolling, or the doctor is I think it was a nurse. The nurse rolls in the body on the gurney, and all of a sudden there's breathing coming from within the bag, for Christ's sake. There's also a good book that documents some other ones like this, and this book's old. Phantasms of the Living. Some of the early research into just general phenomena, anomalies, and things like that. Hell of a book. And you can find that on archive.org for free, or buy a print copy if you'd like as well. But I don't know. I actually spent I think it was over $80 to get a printed copy, because there's not many out there, at least when I was looking. But it's a hell of a book. And if you want to look at some interesting cases of all different types, not just something like, being rolled up into the morgue or the body bag, but I mean, there's a lot of interesting cases in that book. So highly, highly recommend it. And of course, just checking out endorf and ions.com and going through the cases that are submitted.
I'm sorry, I have to process all of this. This is pretty. I've heard a lot of these. I've heard a lot of these before, as you know, on the show. But this one's really interesting because you basically have a verifiable NDE, and we'll talk about that afterwards at the end. But okay, so you've been brought back. Your body has been brought back to life, or at least it's brought back somehow.
It is, yeah. The body is brought back.
Yeah, the body's back. The brain's still gone. Arguably, after I think it's 8 to 10 minutes of brain dead, you're a vegetable. You can't come back from that. And I've heard that many times from guests who have been gone for longer than 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But yours is an extreme case. You're talking about 60 to 90 minutes, if not a little longer, of brain dead. Which is. You're in a body bag. That's as far as you go. I haven't heard the body bag one yet. I haven't heard someone get into a body bag, someone unzip the body bag, wake them up, and get them back up. So, all right. So during this whole process, now your body is at least started up again. Brain hasn't. You're in a coma, essentially.
Yep.
What is happening at this point?
So, up until this point, I still didn't know I was watching me. And again, people are like, "How did you not know?" And I'm like,
"Dude, I was dead. Give me cut me some slack. I was dead.
Cut me some slack." And I was brain dead. And I was brain dead to boot.
I'm brain dead and I'm dying. I'm trying to process this, guys. Come on.
So I'm sitting here I feel like I'm in an interactive movie. I really do. I feel like I'm in this interactive experience. And this was before big video games came out. But it felt like what we would consider a video game today. That's what it felt like to me. I'm sitting there and watch all this happen. I watched them, once they got the heart started, one of the secondary miracles, the first miracle is this medic who follows this prompting or this intuition and takes action. He literally could have been fired. In fact, he got in a lot of trouble, actually. Even the fact that he brought me back, he got in a lot of trouble for it and became a fireman later. Now, all this is happening. I'm watching it happen, and I don't know it's me. They transfer the body over from the medical gurney into the hospital. And the secondary miracle is that there's a hospital a half a block away from the point that my heart started. So the second my heart started, within seconds, literally seconds, they had the body transferring into an ICU ER and getting triage and getting treated. They were able to get immediate treatment for this body. They were transferring the body over from the medical transport onto the hospital gurney. As they did that, the body itself was going through all sorts of convulsions and seizures. And I guess that's norm. I don't know. I'm not in that field, but I was not liking this. I felt it was disgusting. It was horrible to watch this body, going through all of this. And they strapped the body down because they had to work on it. They couldn't work on it as it was just flailing all over. So they strapped the legs down. They strapped the right arm down. They went to strap the left arm down, and I'm left-handed. And again, I was a bodybuilder. I was really strong. I felt them strapping my left arm. And in fact, so strongly, I felt myself resist. And I watched the body break the left strap that they were trying to use to strap the arm. And so they went and got a bigger strap, a leg strap. And they strapped that left arm back down with a leg strap. And that was the first inkling I had that what I'd been witnessing, what I'd been watching this whole time was my own death. And it was an extremely scary moment for me because I have a strong mind. I've always had a very strong mind, and I'm very, very good at science and physics and that kind of thing and numbers. But I'm sitting there trying to figure out, how did I not know I was dead? How could I be so ignorant to not know that this entire experience I was witnessing was my own death? And so I had these self-diminishing thoughts, like, you're such an idiot. How could you not know you've been watching your own death this whole time? And as I walked that path of energy of self-deprivation or the self-deprivative thought, as I'm going down that path, I started to actually feel and see all the negative flashes of anything I'd ever done in my life. Literally all the negatives, from being a little kid and I take someone's candy, or I push a kid over, like from the littlest moments of my life that I could remember, all the way till I was having this experience. I saw every negative thing that I ever did.
Kind of like a life review in screens.
It was, yeah.
It was like in screens.
But it was in flashes. It was like, it's kind of like if you watch a file download on your computer, if you actually physically watch it, you can see the flashes of the videos or the film actually downloading. It's just like that. I saw instantaneous flashes, but I was catching and hearing and feeling the experience from not just inside me, inside the person this was happening to. So if I did wrong to someone else, even cutting someone off, I saw it all, literally everything I ever did negative. And I started to feel like I was not valuable because of all these.
He started to feel like he wasn't valuable. This is what they do. They kind of run the gauntlet at you, throw the negative, and then kind of pat it with some good in between. And the weird thing is I know we've talked about this over and over and over again, is how the system throws the good, and the good is some weird ass stuff. It's weird. Like, a quarter fell out of, some old lady's purse, and you picked it up and you handed it to her. Something it's always something you'd never remember. Some weird thing. And it's like, oh my God, alert the media. Let's get this man or woman on NBC right now or Fox News, and let's get him up there. There is a huge story. Meanwhile, you could have been feeding the homeless or whatever the case may be and actually done it, and the system wouldn't have brought up that example. Like where something actually really, really matters. This is how insane and twisted and stupid this world is that we live in. And go ahead. Go look at all the cases. It happens over and over and over again. This is a pattern. The stupid good act that someone barely remembers is brought to the forefront, but then the flooding of the good, or the flooding of the bad, is emphasized. And it's usually first in the beginning. Now, Vincent talks about how, the good stuff was there too. So I'm not going to take that away from him, but something we see with the patterns is how the stupid stuff somehow makes it to the forefront as the good. But they seem to regularly kind of push the negative in the beginning, which is what? Judgment, sinning, karma, however you want to frame it, right? All of it's there as a catalyst to keep you believing in the scam. Like you have to do something, or that you have to atone or repent, whatever the case may be, so that you can bow down and please to the system. The point is you owe this system nothing. Absolutely nothing. If anything should be judged, it's this system. The fact it allows the type of BS, the torture, the atrocities to go on here, regardless of whether you're experiencing them or not. Everyone has their difficulties, right? Everyone has a lot of crap that goes on to them. But then there are some that kind of have like just a gauntlet thrown at them. The really, really nasty stuff. And the stuff that most people actively choose to ignore. Well, what if you were a child in Africa mining for metals? or lithium components, or, you know, that go into the cell phones. Or we're in China and having to make t-shirts. Oh, no, no, no. Well, I've got my air conditioning, I've got my heating, I've got this and that. Many of us are lucky, but so many refuse to admit the absolute horror show that is going on around the world. Trafficking. There's so many things, a lot of which we can't even talk about. Thanks, YouTube. Anyways, you know, I don't want to dig that type of stuff in, but, you know, many of us have to be thankful for what we have. I know I am. I know I'm thankful that we're able to sit here and all talk together and share this type of information, but at the same time, I'm not ignorant and shutting off the obvious about what some children are going through. Some men or women, boys, girls, around the world as we speak, that prop up this matrix and have no voice, that are not able to talk about the horrors in which they experience. And there's no end to them. But yet we're supposed to believe that everything is love and light. Everything's love and light. We're here for, it's a learning experience. We're supposed to grow spiritually. I have had it. I've absolutely had it with that BS excuse. I've had it. You know what that indicates to me? Those who agree to that type of stuff and actually think that's true, first, they lack the ability for common sense. Second, they lack the ability to actually face the horrors of what this world is. And lastly, they lack the ability to realize that the human body is purposely designed in against them. It's designed against them, right? This body, this vessel that we're all in, it doesn't matter where you live, whether you're in a hut or a mansion, it is designed in a certain way. And nobody, I mean nobody, gets a free ride. Nobody gets easy street if you're in this vessel. Period. The end. It may not betray you now. It may not have betrayed you in the past, but it will. It will. It'll get there. At some point, it is going to take you for a big, big ride. And it doesn't matter whether you're plowing the fields or in a high-end corporate job, it will catch up with you. So, anyways, that's the end of my rant.
Someone else, even cutting someone off. I saw it all, literally everything I ever did, negative. And I started to feel like I was not valuable because of all these, you know, if you add up all the negative things you've ever done, everybody's going to have stuff. And I wasn't a horrible kid, but I wasn't a perfect kid either. But I'll tell you, I had a lot there, and there was enough there that I felt like I wasn't worth saving. I wasn't worth existing anymore. And as soon as I had that thought, this warming presence came over me.
All right. So what did the Matrix do to poor Vincent? What it did was present all his wrongdoings, right? No matter how big or small they may be. They guilt trip. It's the fear, guilt, shame matrix, right? This is the crux of the system. So it put him through all those horrors, making him feel shameful and guilty and like a horrible human being. And whoa, well, here comes the comfort train. What a surprise. It's the equalizer because the Matrix is playing both sides of the spectrum. And all it cares about is getting to you to believe that it's a real, authentic thing. Or a God. Or Jesus or Buddha or Allah or Muhammad or whatever the case may be. The point is it goes on and on and on, and it plays both ends of the spectrum. And somehow we're all supposed to sit here and believe that everything is up to stuff, like everything's cool, everything's fine, you know, you know, I don't have my body pain anymore, you know, I may have taken this GNC supplement, but now, you know, I'm disconnected from my body, and, you know, I was shown, you know, what a disgusting, vile human being I was, and, well, the truth train comes through. Well, now we got to show you the equalizer, the love and light part, so that we don't give ourselves away too much.
All the negative things you've ever done, everybody's going to have stuff. And I wasn't a horrible kid, but I wasn't a perfect kid either. But I'll tell you, I had a lot there, and there was enough there that I felt like I wasn't worth saving. I wasn't worth existing anymore. And as soon as I had that,
you got to ask yourself, why does he have that thought? I wasn't worth existing anymore. Why does he feel that way? Who's communicating that transmission to Vincent?
I wasn't worth existing anymore. And as soon as I had
what
that
kind
thought,
loving God is sending that to him? It's all about love and light. Who's sending that to him? I'm sorry, one more time.
I wasn't worth existing anymore. And as soon as I had that thought, this warming presence came over me, and it came over me from behind. And it's almost like someone coming up behind you and putting their arms on your shoulders and saying, no, you are worth being, you are worth existing. And now I started to flash forward to see all the good things I ever did in my life. And again, in just little flashes. And I got to see it from inside the people I helped always. And I saw so much more good than I ever did bad, like way more good I did than I ever did bad. And I started to feel this message.
Yeah, but they got that bad in real quick, nice and easy up front, right? They got that bad in. They made sure that that's what you experienced first, so that you were degraded, you were shamed, and put into a corner. And then all of a sudden, oh, the Matrix equalizer comes behind you and rubs your shoulders and says, everything's going to be okay. How can it be this hard to see this stuff? We are seeing good cop, bad cop of the Matrix. This is what we're looking at, my friends. And it happens over and over and over again. And the reason why is because this is a system that runs like a machine. It's literally like an AI. And it's going to make sure that it is successful. So it's going to give you the good. It's going to give you the bad. It's going to most likely give you the bad, then give you the good. And pretend that it's God. Because what? The whole God narrative is a belief system learned here. The belief system was learned and developed here so that you buy into the both ends of the spectrum, so that when your time comes, you're going to be easy pickings.
Way more good I did than I ever did bad. And I started to feel this message. See, you are worth existing. You are worth being. And that's when I recognized that this message was coming directly from someone behind me. So I turned around and I felt the most overwhelming love that doesn't exist here. We get to see shadows of this love here. This love.
It doesn't exist here. We only get to see shadows of it. Remember, we've talked about, I'm not going to rant too long. I'm sorry. I know I'm stopping it a lot, but these are the patterns that I try to point out on this channel over and over and over again, so that like you can go out and do your own research and prove this to yourself, right? One of the things we see constantly is how someone is, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
directly from someone behind me. So I turned around and I felt the most overwhelming love that doesn't exist here. We get to see shadows of this love here. This love is so pure.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. I just, my lime brain once in a while. It's the love that cannot be compared to here. Every single experiencer who talks about the love that is experienced in the astral realm, the construct, the manipulative, deceptive tool that pops up over and over again, will say that the love you experience on earth, you take the most pinnacle moment of love experienced on earth, and it cannot be compared to what is experienced in the astral realm. If that doesn't speak volumes about a possible deceptive tool, then I don't know what does. But that should be a red flag for every single one of us sitting here today. And we have mothers, we have grandmothers, we have, all sorts of beings who talk about having an NDE and saying that, look, hey, I love my daughter. I love my son. I love my wife. I love my husband. But, compare it to the day I got married, compare it to the day I gave birth, or whatever the case may be, it doesn't even come close. They say it over and over and over again. So clearly, if you have something that you can't even reference it to, isn't that like a possibility to kind of throw this stuff aside and say, whoa, maybe there is a deception going on. Maybe it's true. I'm not asking anyone to blindly believe me. I'm saying go out, do your own research, consume these cases, to the point where you have this firm inner knowing. And, if you come back and say, hey, I see it, I see what you're talking about, great. But that I don't even care about that. All I want you to do is be able to prove it to yourself so that you can take care of yourself and realize that there is a weaponized situation through some sort of funky, weird, creepy AI system that customizes experiences for those who are on their way out or having an NDE, and it makes sure that it wins you over. My solution, at least for my personal approach to all this, is don't interact with it. Shield yourself. Why does it even deserve your attention? Because it seems that as soon as we give this stuff attention, as soon as we give it exactly what it wants, it doesn't help us. It only helps them. So why be clouded in judgment? Why cloud our lucidity? Why is the love any different? If everything is about love and this and that, well, you know what? Why the hell isn't it happening here? If everything's about spiritual involvement and spiritual growth and all this other stuff that we hear over and over and over again, and that's a fact, right? This is something that pops up over and over and over again. Regardless of the topic that we're talking about, it doesn't have to be NDEs. It could be after-death communication. It could be shared death experiences. It could be life between lives, past life regressions, reincarnation, on and on and on. It pops up. It's pervasive. This isn't something that just, is thrown out there and it permeates culture. It permeates our existence. And all the system wants to do is make sure that you and I and everyone else listening today buys into the scam. And all it needs to do is just bombard you with this love. Love is a good feeling, right? There's nothing wrong with love when you strip it down, right? It's okay. It's fine. It's the best thing this whole matrix has going for it. But in the afterlife, you know, when you're on your way out, hell no. Those are two entirely different things. We end up being love bombed, euphoria bombed. We are drugged by this system. And all it's hoping to do is win us over this lifetime. That's all it cares about. And then it's on to the next.
And I call it light love because it actually had light to it. Like literally as this light hit me, as this love hit me, I felt that all the traumas, all the hard, you know, self-inflicted and not, but all the traumas that were kind of damaged into me through my life, they washed away. They filled up with this love.
Just all the trauma is washed away. Everything's just thrown away to the wayside. Hey, you know, it doesn't matter whether you, what about those who like grew up in a cult? A high pressure cult that beat its followers. You're born into a cult. I know there are some of you out there who watch this channel who unfortunately had to go through that. It kills me to hear that. Absolutely kills me. The amount of compassion and empathy I have, and that's just one example. One example. Oh, you're born into a cult, some love and light thing, or some high pressure. I mean, you pick the religion or the horrible situation that it could possibly be. How can you not have compassion and empathy? And that's just one example. Oh, you know, you're born into a hut, and you got to go dig minerals for lithium ion batteries. Oh, sure, no problem, no problem. But everything's love and light on the other side, right? After you slaved away for 70, 80, 90 years. Come on.
It's almost as if I came as a broken man, and this love healed me and made me whole. And I just wanted to stay there forever. I felt like this is so awesome. But yeah. My intrigue though got ahead of me, because here I'm seeing a man. As I turned around, I see this man. He's a white man. He's got long white hair around to his shoulders. He's got a long white beard, very, very pink skin, almost like Santa Claus pink skin. And his skin, it glistened because there was light coming out of it. Literally beams of light coming out of everything on. And of course, me growing up evangelical Christian, I think, you must be God. And I was really excited. I'm like, you must be God. And he just smiled, and he just shook his head and said, no, son, I'm not God. But the first thing I noticed is he said that without moving his mouth. I just understood it, but I heard it in his voice. And then my follow-up question, or my follow-up thought was, oh, then you must be Jesus. Even though you don't look like it, you must be Jesus. And he again just laughed and kind of shrugged and said, no, son, I'm not Jesus.
See, like, I find it interesting that in this case that the Matrix didn't take advantage of that. Like, oh, you must be Jesus. Oh, yeah, sure. It's kind of different, right? I mean, a lot of times the system, you know, the molded beliefs, all that stuff will come rearing right in and take advantage of the situation. But in this case, it didn't happen.
I'm Drake. My name is Drake, and I'm your guide. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you go wherever you want to go. I can help you go back to your body, back to your physical life on Earth, or I can help you go wherever you want to go in this universe. And I mean, to have somebody say that to you, I'm thinking of like, where do I want to go? I knew I didn't want to go back to Earth. I knew for a fact I didn't want to go there. That looked like.
But here you are. But you're back here. You're back here telling your story. I knew I didn't want to go back to Earth. Remember that, my friends. I knew I didn't want to go back to Earth. One of my older videos I talk about with pre-birth memories, life between lives, and NDEs. The most common theme you see, now it's not going to pop up in every single case, but one of the more common themes you see is that they didn't want to come back, or they didn't want to come here. Over and over and over again, it pops up. So if that's the case, the question begs, why are they interacting? Because there is some sort of instilled belief system that is learned here that carries over into the matrix. And what the matrix does is it processes that belief system and, like we talked about earlier, plops out the most optimum outcome possible so that you believe it, so that the scam is preserved.
I'm thinking of like, where do I want to go? I knew I didn't want to go back to Earth. I knew for a fact I didn't want to go there. That looked like pain. That looked like hardship. It looked horrible. And I could perceive that this all permeating love that I was feeling come off of him, I was perceiving that it came from wherever his home was. So I told him, I want to go to your home. And he explained to me that, oh, that's your home as well. That's where you came from too. So we can take you back home. And I said, yeah, absolutely. That's where I want to go. I want to go back home. And he explained that this wasn't just a journey of, coming from Earth to heaven or to home. He explained that home is such a different place than Earth, that I was going to have to take an energetic journey, meaning I was going to have to raise my energy to such a high level so that I could be home.
How much does that sound like a scam? That's a scam. Because Vincent is already way too far involved with the process, right? He has, decided to interact. He has decided to tango with the system. Now, is that his fault? Of course not. Look, but there are things that are, in my opinion, are rules of this experience and existence in general. And that involves intention, consent. And so it's like, what would happen if Vincent stood his ground, didn't interact, shielded himself, and walked the path of sovereignty and liberation? I think we wouldn't even be hearing from him today. But in the same breath, it's like, like if you're handing yourself over to this system, it's going to take advantage of the situation. It's not going to back down. And I mean, that's really the big part of all this, right? The collective, the soul groups, the attachments, the materialism. All this stuff kind of crisscrosses one another. And the question is in the beginning, are you going to go your own way, do your own thing, and escape this mess, and use your intention to liberate yourself and walk the path of sovereignty? Or are you going to kind of let the Matrix win and hope that everything's going to be okay? I'm of the belief that it's like, hey, it seems like all we keep doing is spinning our wheels. When are we going to say no? There's a lot of power in no. And a lot of astral projectors will tell you the same thing. No, applying your intention. We've seen it even with NDEs, where someone applies their intention, they're okay, and then eventually the distractions come rolling in. But who is the one that decides to move forward? The experiencer. Not me, not you, not on an individual level. It's the same thing over and over again. curiosity killed the cat. Believing that there is some sort of higher powered structure that has a right to say anything over us when it's providing this dumpster fire on Earth. Think about it. What brass balls of a system has the right to say anything when we're down here dealing with everything that's happening, right? And then you can go even further. And for those that say, oh, well, it's about our spiritual growth and this, that. Well, you know what? The deck is stacked against you. What about the human body? The human body is an absolute dumpster fire of a vessel. It's about the most poorly designed, horrific vessel you can imagine. Now, some of you may, not have to deal with a lot of health issues. I know I have my own, and so I'm a little biased in that department. But like we were talking about earlier, eventually it's going to turn on you. May not be now, may not be 10 years from now, but at some point it's going to turn on you. And this is where the problem lies. You cannot excuse this reality away as if it's authentic and has a right to judge you when it's providing you and this entire realm the dumpster fire that we all see. Come on. Let's get real. Let's talk turkey and avoid the BS in between.
To heaven or to home. He explained that home is such a different place than Earth, that I was going to have to take an energetic journey, meaning I was going to have to raise my energy to such a high level so that I could be home, because home is such a high energy space. I couldn't just go there with my low Earth energy. I had to really raise and amplify that up to match the energy of home. Otherwise, I could not exist there.
Okay, so okay, you know how many of these channels talk about how, like you're a sovereign being. You can say no and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Well, what we're hearing right now from Vincent are qualifications. You have to meet a certain substandard of whatever in order to progress, in order to elevate, in order to ascend. And it just goes on and on and on. And remember, all it's concerned about right now is getting Vincent to buy into the scam. And if it's lucky enough, which, again, if you're interacting and falling down this rabbit hole with the matrix system, you're all but cooked. So that's why shutting all this down ahead of time and making sure that it doesn't even happen in the first place is where we should be at. But the system is going to take advantage where it sees a hole. It's going to make sure that, it's going to fill the gap when necessary.
So he was going to help me on this journey. And that's when I almost pulled out my Christian card. And I'm like, well, I'm Christian. I've been baptized. I've been saved. I take Christ as my Lord and Savior. So you can just let me into heaven. I'm good. You can just let me into heaven.
I mean, seriously, how many opportunities can Vincent give away? It's like, oh, I'm a good Christian. I was baptized, blah, blah. It's like all earthly learned systems that the Matrix is hoping, and dare I say it, praying that you fall into, because that's all it cares about. It's an ever-revolving system that feeds off of itself and you and me. And all it wants you to do is just buy into it one more time. Just buy into it one more time. It's legitimate, I promise. Donate to the channel. Donate your life savings. I promise. Everything is fine. This is the type of crap that goes on. All it wants you to do is buy into what it's selling. It's a marketing scheme. We've talked about the Matrix marketing department more times than I can count. And a lot of these individuals, I'm not saying this is the case with Vincent, although it probably is, that they come back and they push Matrix narratives. That's not saying that they even know what's going on or that they're doing it on purpose, but it happens over and over and over again.
And he again laughed for the third time. And he's like, no, son. He's like, he said it this way. I love that you have all that. I love that you've emulated that in your religion. But I want you to know that what we're going to do is we're going to help you learn more. We're going to help you journey further
thoughtful.
on this path of understanding so that you're ready for going home. Because home has a lot higher understanding than even what my religion could teach me within the evangelical church. Mm-hmm. So I did. I began my process of journeying, and I'm thinking, well, it's all about love. It's all about love. I'm sure that's the first thing I've got to do is learn how to love, right, Drake? And he again laughs. I kept him laughing pretty much.
Obviously, you're doing stand-up routine for him.
But he explained that love actually is very important, and love is the system that we exist in here. That is love.
Come on. I find it so difficult. No offense to Vincent or Next Level Souls channel or any other channel or individual has an experience like this. I know that these things that they go through are extremely, extremely powerful. And, we can sit back here and laugh and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, my heart goes out to every single individual that has to endure this experience and make excuses for it. All right? The programming runs deep, my friends. The indoctrination is massive. It's massive. So I really try not, look, for as sarcastic as I am, for as many jokes as I crack on this channel, and they're well deserving, but as far as it being a personal thing, it is not. So Vincent, if you're watching, or if Next Level Soul is watching, or anyone else watching here has kind of randomly come across this channel and had the love and light belief, my heart goes out to you. I care about each and every single person that watches this channel and is taking into consideration that we may, just maybe, we're being scammed and deceived. Because it makes no sense that we can come here lifetime after lifetime and not have a memory. We are memory wiped. This is the biggest nail in the coffin. This is the biggest giveaway to the system. And reincarnation research shows over and over and over again how it's a very real thing. It's not fake. It's not phony. It's not BS. We're talking about children who just randomly start spouting out things about how, they're talking to their mom. I was your father in a past life. I used to be your father. And I don't say past in a past life, but they'll say, I used to be your father. Or whatever the case may be. Pick it. Over and over and over. It happens constantly. Birthmarks. The physical evidence. Physical. And if you're not familiar with that, check out Dr. Ian Stevenson. A must research. If you're on the fence with reincarnation, check it out. The evidence is there. Why does reincarnation even exist in the first place? Oh, well, everything's for our spiritual evolution. Even though, you're an all-powerful creator being capable of amazing things, for some reason, you've got to come here. Are you kidding me? Does that make any sense really? Minimal amount of brain processing power can look at that and say, that makes no sense. if you're coming here lifetime after lifetime and you're being memory wiped and thrown into this vessel with limited abilities, you've got a governor attached to your head, like can't go over 70 miles per hour on the highway or wherever, without the thing clamping down and saying, no, you're going too fast. We're going to keep you at 70. Well, come on, let's just talk turkey, right? Let's just talk real. Let's talk facts. Let's talk patterns. I'm just trying to help anyone who's listening here see what's going on. And I am sick and tired. Doesn't matter who it is. You could blank out the entire screen today and just say, why are there so many apologists for what happens here? Think about, this is one small example. It's a stupid example, but it's another example. In France, what's going on? Apparently there's these mass protests, right? These mass protests about the French who, they're pissed off. And rightfully so. They're pissed off saying, the retirement age changed. And I don't remember exactly what it went to, but it changed. And so they're protesting in the streets like crazy and saying, no. And the funny thing is all that news is not even put out there. You try searching the mainstream, you're not going to find it. You'll find it if you know what's happening. But if you don't know what's happening, it makes no difference. And what's interesting is like, oh, they made sure that the law doesn't apply to the firemen, the police, and the medical community. How convenient. Just the people that the system needs on their side. Really, we can go on forever about this stuff. And that's just one little small smidgen of an example. America is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. A clown show of epic proportions. Just think about the last few years of everything that's gone on here. And for some, and we're supposed to be the land of the free. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And apparently, I'm not even going to go down that road. But anyways, the point is the system can frame and set things up in a certain way. And it's just going to hope that you don't pay attention, that you give it legitimacy, that you actually think that this illusion is legitimate, and that all you have to do is have your attachments, your soul group, your material linkages, or whatever the case may be. Pick it. All it takes is one thing. And the system is going to magnify that one thing and make sure that it moves in on you so that you comply. That's it. All it cares about is you complying. All right, we'll keep going a little bit longer. We're going to take a break. We still got a ways to go. I'm sorry. I've had a lot to say on this one. Sorry, guys.
He explained that love actually is very important, and love is the system that we exist in here.
Oh, yeah.
That is love.
Yeah.
But love in itself is not the first thing I need to embody. I actually need to peel away all the different aspects of who I am and who I was.
Boom.
That we exist in here. That is love. But love in itself is not the first thing I need to embody. I actually need to peel away all the different aspects of who I am and who I was in the earthly realm. And I needed to come into an authentic self, a single authentic self. And once
Okay, so if Vincent doesn't peel away everything that he's learned here in this incarnation. Now, mind you, Vincent has been memory wiped already. He's been memory wiped already. Born into this system, memory wiped, right? Goes through life, regardless of how young or old Vincent is, it does not matter. All right, but he's an adult when this happens. And now the system is saying, like, oh, well, if you'd like to join us and not go back to Earth, and we understand you don't want to go back to Earth, but if you want to go behind door number 2, you know, the beautiful, light-loving, amazing door number 2. Can you visualize it, everybody? Let's just get that door ready. Visualize that beautiful matrix door with the code falling, and it's just, there's love and light beaming out of it. Well, all he has to do is strip away his entire essence. And the Matrix is rearing and ready to go. But Vincent came back here. How sick and twisted is that? You need to release all of your memories, all of your essence that relates to your most recent incarnation in order to move on. In order for the system to be proud of you and buy into everything, you've got to let it all go. How much more obvious, how many more examples do we need, my friends?
That we exist in here, that is love. But love in itself is not the first thing I need to embody. I actually need to peel away all the different aspects of who I am and who I was in the earthly realm. And I needed to come into an authentic self, a single authentic self. And once I could come into
a single authentic self,
into that space of being truly authentic, then I could begin my journey. But until I could...
Authentic means giving yourself fully away to the Matrix. That's the translation.
Authentic, then I could begin my journey. But until I could get to that authentic space, I couldn't start building who I am and where I needed to go.
He couldn't start building or going where he needed to go until he complied, until he did as the Matrix says. How many, I mean, if that's not evidence of the deception, I don't know what is. Come on, guys.
Authentic, then I could begin my journey. But until I could get to that authentic space, I couldn't start building who I am and where I needed to go.
Mm-hmm. No access.
Which, you know, that was odd to me because nobody ever had come up to me and said, be authentic, be authentic. There wasn't really this movement back then. Everybody thought we were all being authentic. But he helped me see that I had a different aspect of who I was that was coming out when I was with family and with friends, and a different aspect that it would come out when I was with coworkers and with different people at church.
Okay, so the system is using his life review against him. The system is using his life review against him and saying, hey, well, you know, you should have done ABC and you would have had XYZ. But because you're such I'm not going to say it, but you get what I'm saying. It's like he's being cornered. He's being manipulated every step of the way. All right, my friends, we've been going for an hour and a half, over an hour and a half. I got to take a break, but I will be back shortly, and there's much more to come. I'm sorry to kind of cut it off here, but there is a lot more to come. So hang in there. I promise you this one's worth it. I hope you've been enjoying it so far, and we will see each other shortly. Thank you so much. Everybody. Just wanted to drop a few messages before we finish off this NDE tonight. So tomorrow, or tonight technically, April 9th, at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's New York time zone, we will be having a live stream with Harold. We'll be going over some pre-birth memories. This is going to be episode 2 of 3 with Harold, and there will be one more obviously after that. And just as a reminder, this channel is for educational purposes only. The stream for tomorrow is available on YouTube, Odysee, and Twitch and Rumble. The Rumble stream unfortunately isn't available yet because you can only make one at a time, and I was hoping there wouldn't be an issue with Odysee, but apparently there may be. So anyways, the link is out there. So sorry for any inconvenience tonight with Odysee and YouTube. I know we had some issues early on, and I will make sure to get clarifications from both platforms before we move along. And there's a few more things if you're interested in following the channel here on YouTube. Please consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell and selecting all. I also have 2 backup channels for YouTube in case something should ever happen here. And I have an email list And that's a good way for us to stay in touch, just in case something should ever happen as well. And I am doing one-on-one sessions for anyone interested. Those are available in the description tab. And there are memberships available if you're interested in supporting the channel, both on Odysee and YouTube. And our next monthly members live stream is going to be on April 30th. That's Sunday, April 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So feel free to check that out if you're interested in getting a little extra content each month. We do a monthly members live stream. It also gives you access to the members Discord server. And I also have a Rumble, a Facebook, a D Live, and Instagram and Twitter and Twitch, where I do Truth in Gaming every once in a while with some light commentary. I'm not some professional gamer, so if you're used to watching professional gamers and all that stuff, it's just not something you're going to get on the channel. But if you're looking to swing by and say hi and get some truth bombs along the way, occasionally I go live over there. So anyways, yeah, so feel free to check those out in the description tab, wherever you may be watching. And we're going to move along with tonight's stream.
He helped me see that I had a different aspect of who I was that was coming out when I was with family and with friends, and a different aspect that would come out when I was with coworkers and with different people at church. I mean, I had so many different aspects to my personality that I had to peel all of them away and see what was inside. And Drake helped me understand that
Sounds like possession. Sounds like Matrix possession. Just saying.
To peel all of them away and see what was inside. And Drake helped me understand that in this life, we come into this life extremely authentic. And right before we go, we leave very authentic. So
we leave very authentic in terms of what the Matrix wants us to leave here with. And those are with attachments. They are most likely friends, family, religious views, whatever. They are things that are learned here that thwart sovereignty and liberation and non-interference. Just saying.
It's all these years in between we need to get better at allowing ourselves to be authentic. And he explained that when we're authentic, we're vulnerable, but we can't grow unless we are vulnerable. So if we're constantly pushing away vulnerability in our life, we're constantly pushing away growth. Mm-hmm. And it's in our vulnerable moments, our authentic moments, that we're actually able to grow. But yeah, that was the first and foremost thing I had to learn, was how to be authentic.
All on that.
That was my most.
Again, I have to beg the question. How can you learn and grow in a system where your memories are wiped out lifetime after lifetime? That is the nail in the coffin, my friends. For those who are new to this material about the soul trap and everything related to it, that's what gives a system away. There is no excuse. If we are here to learn and grow and everything is love and light as advertised, and we hear it constantly over and over and over again, how can you learn and grow spiritually if you don't have a memory to do it with? It's just common sense. And, you know, I get raked over the coals all the time when I talk about this type of stuff, but it's the truth. I would love a logical explanation. You know, one of the biggest clown show responses I get is like, oh, well, you know, if you had access to all your past lives and what you had to work on and this and that, you'd get overwhelmed. The human body just can't handle it. Are you serious? We're talking about spiritual growth here. We're not talking about, tic-tac-toe. we're talking about something that's supposed to be a serious topic. And if you're telling me that, it's to protect us, I mean, there isn't even a remote level of remembering, at least for me and the bulk of the population out there. Let's just call it what it is. The bulk of the population doesn't remember. And if they do, surprise, surprise, it's all Matrix memories. And even then, yeah, you may get some little bits and pieces here and there about something, but you're not ever, ever, ever going to get to the full picture. What happened before we even came here? So many want to just gloss over that question. So you can have someone who has pre-birth memories and past life regressions and all this other stuff. But what happens, A, to the person who doesn't even have that opportunity, and B, those who beg the question, well, where the hell was I before I even came here? Are we just going to just kind of throw that away as if it's nothing? We're many of them talk about it being multidimensional and all that stuff, and I firmly believe that. I think there are multiple realms, multiple dimensions, and we all go and kind of like, hey, we're eternal beings. We want to just experience something. Hey, let's go to the crack den that's called Earth and give away everything. But what about all the other realms that we experienced before we came here? That weren't parasitic, that didn't require our essence to be totally hijacked. What about all that? Well, the problem is we have no frame of reference for it. So let's just be honest with each other. The memories that pop up over and over and over again are related to this freaking system. In some way, shape, or form. It's not necessarily the Earth realm, although most of the time it is. But let's just say there are other memories that can pop up from time to time from some individuals, very, very small, where they are talking about something that is still familiar to us. Why is it familiar? If it wasn't familiar, then it wouldn't be of this matrix. We have to think bigger. Don't we deserve to think bigger, my friends? Don't we deserve it? We do. Why are we going to limit ourselves to just this, I don't know, governed, sad, lame experience and not think beyond all of this? I mean, really, it doesn't take a freaking rocket scientist to figure out that, look, there's a very high probability that we have all experienced much more than what's in not just physical reality, but within the overall matrix systems. And what does the matrix want to do over and over again? It wants to thwart your progress, thwart my progress, and make sure that we buy into it one last time. Just one last time. Just buy into it. And then what has it got in its arsenal once you buy into it? The memory wipe. Well, how convenient.
How to be authentic.
All on that.
That was my most important thing.
But that was still on the other side.
Yes. Yeah. Still on the other side, but still long before I actually got into heaven. But I essentially Drake had to take me on a journey of 10 principles. He didn't call it 10 principles, but that's what it ends up being.
So you're like on a
10 major
walkabout.
Principles.
You're like on a spiritual walkabout.
Definitely on a walkabout. Yeah.
Okay. So you go through all of the, so you're basically, this is a first as well. I haven't really heard this before. You're getting
I need to walk about on
trained essentially, or at least re-educated, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. In an indoctrination camp, you're being re-educated, making sure that the matrix is doing its job.
Trained essentially, or at least re-educated, kind of,
Yes.
because you know all of this in at a soul level, but you got to kind of be reminded of all this before you could even walk back.
You need to be reminded of it. You got, before everything's walked back, you need to be reminded that, you forgot everything. Come on. Come on. It's in our face, my friends. It's there. It's just hidden by the love and light narrative constantly. Or the hellish-like experiences, the customization of the experience. Come on. We deserve so much better.
You know all of this in at a soul level, but you got to kind of be reminded of all this before you could even walk back in to the room. Is that a fair statement?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And I had to embrace it. Really, I didn't have to fully comprehend it. I didn't fully have to digest it or ingest these principles. I just had to be willing to accept them.
I just had to be willing to accept them. I just had to be willing to accept them. So for those who doubt on consent and intention, there it is, yet again, in our face. But the problem is poor Vincent is already way, 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 in my opinion at least, maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, he's past the point of no return. He's interacted. He's given it credence. He's allowed this system to have authority over him, and then it's giving him this false belief system that he is in control. See how perfectly planned out this whole thing is? This is not some stupid system that's just half-assing it. It is very well thought out and methodical. And that's why non-interference, shielding, sovereignty, liberation is the most logical path to go. I just don't see any other path. And, I hold firm to that. It's not some religious thing. It's just like, hey, anything but that seems to be extremely volatile. And, if you want to rely on the holes in the grid and all that stuff and all these other clown show things that could more almost guaranteed lead to a Matrix revival in another lifetime, then go for it. But I think the answer is simple. Intention. Sovereignty, liberation, shielding, non-interference, all this stuff. I think it's very, very simple. It's saying, I disavow the illusion completely. And I think anything outside of that is risky. So you can call me whatever you want to call me, but there's a reason why I kind of stand firm on the exit plan. And, there's just got to do what you got to do for yourself. Make of it what you will, but, it's like, I think kind of the best way to look at all of this is like, look, if I'm wrong, if we're all wrong, there will be ways to fix it. The Matrix will gladly welcome us with open arms. But once you kind of give yourself away to it, it seems to be a very, very, very powerful structure that is difficult to abort from. So why even give it that leg up? That's all I'm saying. I'm not some fundamentalist or pushing some sort of narrative. All I'm trying to say is like, hey, this is what's happening. make of it what you will, but at the same time, just be careful. That's it. That's all this channel says. Be careful. These are the things that are presented through experiencer cases. And make of it what you will, but it seems like as soon as someone buys into or affirms a belief system, the Matrix is like, just like all up in that. Like a rabid dog. And it's not just one case, it's many cases. Anyways, I'll step off the soapbox.
And as long
Damn right, conscious soul, we deserve better.
as I was willing to accept them as possible truths or possibly my truth, then I was able to keep my momentum and keep moving on our journey, on our walkabout. Yeah.
So, and then he gave you these 10 principles.
He did, one at a time. He didn't lay them out as 10. In fact, I never even thought there was any number of principles. I just had my experience, and I've been sharing it for years.
So the 10 commandments or the 10 principles, interesting how the number is there. Make of it what you will. I'm not saying it's either or, but the 10 commandments, 10 principles. Passed down to Vincent.
Number of principles. I just had my experience, and I've been sharing it for years. And when we actually wrote down the experience for the book, my writer partner on this book, Lynn, he pulled it out. He's like, "Whoa, bro! There's 10 principles here. There's 10 very distinct principles." So that was the first that I even noticed that it was actually 10 distinct principles. But I've been sharing that experience now for 20 years now.
So can you give us a couple of those principles so we can at least tease what's inside the book?
Yeah. So I'll give you all 10, but I'll kind of give specifics on each one. But, number 2 is understanding the purpose of life. And that is important.
Oh.
The purpose of life is for us to learn, to come to Earth School.
Oh, please.
And Drake helped me understand.
With a memory wipe.
He showed me this ribbon. He showed me this ribbon that stretched from Earth out to the eternities, like way out to the furthest edges of the known and unknown universe. And on that, he dropped a single grain of sand. And he said that
the single grain of sand thing is something that is an earthly comparison. Let's just call it what it is. Look, I'm not going to say that any of you experience this, but I did. As a child, it was crammed into my head from school that you're nothing more than a grain of sand on the beach. You're nothing. And then you know what? You're a bag of bones afterwards. I mean, seriously. I'm just calling it out for what it is. I don't know if any of you learned that or were kind of force-fed that as a child, but I was. And what does that do? It kind of minimizes us and makes us seem like we're worthless, like we're nothing. And you know what? Yeah, we are all creator beings, and in a sense, probably all have the same powers, but remember, we're in their world, their matrix, their bodies, their limitations that come with everything. So we are in a foreign construct. So what's to be expected? The foreign construct's agenda. That's just my opinion. Make of it what you will, but again, why just automatically, without even thinking, or by having an experience and it being so powerful that, everything makes sense now. We just got to think bigger. That's it. Like we were talking about with Conscious Soul, we just got to think bigger. We deserve it. Drone's another tone. Shout out to you, my friend.
A single grain of sand represents your entire life on Earth. And that like rocked my world. But it also helped me understand that we need to not live within our tunnel vision here. And we need to understand that our life is much larger than what's going on here. It's much larger than what political party we identify with or don't identify with,
or religion or any of that.
Or religion. Yeah, it's so much bigger than even our family ties or family problems. You know, there's so much. Our existence is so much bigger. So that was the main thing, is understanding that life is a classroom and not a courtroom. We're here to learn and not to be judged, but to.
It's not a courtroom, but it sure seems to be when someone passes. It pops up over and over and again. So if it isn't a courtroom when you die, have an OBE, have an NDE, whatever the case may be, then what the hell is it? If it's not as it claims to be, if it's not as indoctrinated as it's advertised to be while we're here, then what the hell is it? We're just supposed to blindly trust it and move along and not question anything. Those days are over. This system gives itself away over and over and over again. And the only answer is to just go your own way and see what the hell happens. Trust me, this system will welcome you with open arms. It'll welcome all of us with open arms if it has any legitimacy to it. But it doesn't. But that's for all of us to decide with a rash, lucid mind when we leave here. Not clouded by experience and everything that's happened here. No. We deserve better.
Not a courtroom. We're here to learn and not to be judged, but to learn, we have to go to essentially the principle 3, which is love everyone. And that one was easy for me. I love people. I love all people. The one thing that I didn't necessarily realize I was having a hard time with was loving all beings. So I had to start building this love for all of creation. That means the good, the bad, the ugly, and the pretty. Everything in creation I love now. And that was the third principle. And then listening to your inner voice, listening to your inner intuition. That's the fourth principle. We all have intuition. We all do. But many of us, we drive up to the drive-through window of life. We order at the speaker. We say, God, this is what I want. And then we drive straight home without stopping. And what happens is we've got to give space. We've got to give time for God to respond or God to show up in our lives. And
Wrong. No, we don't need to give any time. This is an absentee God. Anyone who decides to kind of fight this, that's on you. Okay? But what we are dealing with is an absentee God, an absentee source, an absentee creator. And I did a video on this a number of times. But, if you check the videos tab, not the live tab of the channel, you'll see some of where I'm getting at. It's like we don't need to answer or please anything. And if we think we need to, we'll cross that barrier when we get there. But why risk everything about our essence, our true spirit essence, in exchange for something we know nothing about? If you don't have a memory for it, how the hell can you make a decision? Let's just call it out for what it is. Sorry. A little heated.
And that's that principle is listening to our inner voice. And that to me is one of the most important things that I've taken away is I have gotten really good at that now. And I help other people get really good at that, listening to their own intuition, listening to their own inner voice, because God is speaking to us constantly if we want to listen.
Wrong.
And then that brings us to the fifth principle, which again, this is a 2003. Technology was not a big deal back then, not like it is today, but I was taught very succinctly I needed to use technology responsibly. And technology is a tool for great things, for great change, but also for horrible change. I mean, the technology in itself is a tool, just like a hammer. It could be used to build a home, or it could be used to kill people. You know, we need to make sure we use technology responsibly and not just allow technology to kind of infest our lives, but to keep a healthy, respectable relationship with technology. But and then that took me to my next principle, which is release prejudice. Now, this is one I thought, I've got this. I told Drake, I'm the least prejudiced person you'll ever meet. I have 2 Korean sisters that are adopted. And I felt that.
Here comes the mind F.
I told Drake, I'm the least prejudiced person you'll ever meet. I have 2 Korean sisters that are adopted.
Well, don't you worry. The Matrix will make sure that you feel guilty for that.
And I felt that I was their protector, even though they were older, and they were probably more my protector than I ever was theirs. As a boy, I always thought, I'll fight their fight. Anybody who's prejudiced or racist against them, I'll go and take them out. I'll punch them out, send them to the hospital, whatever, right? I thought I was this tough guy.
Go, brother, go.
And so I told Drake, I'm the least prejudiced person there is. And he says, well, if you are, how do you feel about prejudiced people? And that was another mind-blowing moment for me. He showed me how I myself was joining the prejudiced team by hating prejudiced people.
Okay, so because there are a-holes in the world, and we've all been memory wiped, that automatically kind of translates to, oh, well, love and light. You know, line up. Let me give you a big kiss. I mean, are you serious? Are you serious? Look, this is a solo journey to the end. All right? For as much as we can all sit here and be thankful that we have one another and see right through the BS, it truly boils down to an individual journey. And we can bounce ideas off one another and make the best of it, right? And I think it's so important that we all kind of take the best qualities of the Matrix and use them to our advantage. But, you know, that doesn't mean I'm going to go forgiving individuals who care less. That doesn't mean that I'm going to bend over backwards to individuals who could care less. I mean, I've cut people out of my life. I have disassociated from individuals who have not just done BS wrong. I'm talking, you know, sexual assault and all right, I'll shut up.
And he showed me on the path of a racist, the path of a prejudice, that people go that path because in some way they were a victim. And the way they react to being a victim is they ostracize or push away a certain race, class, creed, religion, whatever. They're choosing a category to react to their path of being a victim. And to truly love God, to truly love all creation, I have to even love those who are broken. And those who are broken are prejudiced of all kinds. Mm-hmm. And he also showed me that sometimes.
What about those who are not broken and just don't buy into the scam? What about those who actually lived life, were abused, and went through absolute hell and refuse to just, I'm going to forgive you, and they're still alive? What about them? What about them? What about those who don't seek forgiveness? Why the hell should I rise above my high horse and just, everything's fine? Even though you raped me as a child and all that other stuff, no big deal. It's all good. If there's no seeking of forgiveness on the accuser's side, then why should I be involved with it? Again, it's the endless BS of excuses. Anyways, whatever.
Within church, there's extreme prejudices there. And sometimes outside church there's extreme prejudices, but inside and outside of our churches, we find great people and true unconditional love and service. And that's demons. What I needed to embody and understand. And that brought me to exercising the power of creation. I was taught that we can create our own universe every single day. We have that capability. We have that power. And where we begin.
Okay, so if you have the capability and the power, just like we talk about on this channel, you're a creator, powerful creator being. You have the ability to take control. Why, oh why, would you kowtow to the Matrix? Why? Why would you bow down to something that has erased your memory without at least taking some quote unquote time for yourself to do what you need to do and make sure that nothing is going to stand in your way to get the whole picture, not just the minimal picture, not just the Matrix picture. This is how sick and twisted and diabolical this whole system is. And only the strongest get out. That's just the bottom line. Only the strongest get out. Only the strongest who see the deception for what it is. It's all smoke and mirrors. All of it. And it exposes itself constantly. It's not even like it just exposes itself like a little here and a little there. No, it's massive. There are data patterns. If I had a full-on funded research team behind me, I could prove it and say, hey, look, this is all BS. There's truth behind the experience, but what the patterns show overwhelmingly in high percentile brackets is that the entire system from bottom to top is a scam. And all it wants to do is convince you and I that it's legitimate. Boy, doesn't that sound familiar? Just like what we live in our day-to-day life. It exposes itself. It's pathetic.
we have that capability, we have that power. And where we begin, the first stage, the first step of creation is thought. So if we can control our thoughts, we're essentially helping control our habits. Our habits then help create our character, and our character essentially directs our destiny, where we're going to go with our life. But it all starts with our thoughts. So if we can master the thoughts, we can master creation. We can master and foster creation in our life in so many amazing, blessed ways. And that brought me to the next principle, which is avoiding negative influences. And the funny thing is, I was like, oh yeah, I don't like negative people, Drake. I stay away from negative people. And he's like, oh, okay. What do you do before you go to bed every night? And I'm like, I just, brush my teeth, wash my face. And he's like, no. What are you doing right before you brush your teeth, wash your face? What are you doing? I'm like, oh, I just check in for the news. Back then that was kind of what everybody did. You watch the news for 30 minutes to an hour every night before you go to bed. And he explained to me, he said, well, how many of those stories that you're watching right before you go to bed, how many of those are a positive energy story? And I would reflect on that. I guess most of it's not. Most of it's some type of negative energy. And he said, well, what's going on is I needed to understand there was this special window in life. It's called the hour of power. And that's the 30 minutes right when we wake up, the 30 minutes right before we go to bed. And we have to make sure we're putting positive energy there. Because if we don't, we're framing our life in negative energy by allowing the beginning of our day and the end of our day to be started and ended with negative energy. So it's very important for us to honor the hour of power and avoid negative influences, specifically in these windows of the hour of power, but also throughout our whole life. We want to avoid negative influences because those influences will eventually be directing and influencing our lives. And we think, we go and stream something for entertainment, and we don't even ask ourselves, is this a negative or positive influence on me? And if you're not sure, it's a negative influence. And if you're sure, you know what it is. It's a positive or a negative influence. So it's important for us to make sure that we're avoiding those negative influences in all their different forms. And then that brings me to the number 9 principle, which is understanding the purpose of evil. And that was pretty interesting to me. Mm-hmm. And Drake showed me, I worked out a lot. So he showed me how principally to have a life without evil would be like having a gym without weights.
Right.
So evil in itself is paramount as an option, the same way as good, as love. We have to have love, we have to have evil for us to be able to choose without one of those choices. So if God created this world where there was no evil whatsoever, there would be no growth.
So is that what the heavenly realms are like? And that's why we have to come down. That's why we have to come.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what's funny. In heaven, the whole system is so permeating with that love that God has. And it's truly unconditional. You don't deserve it, but you get it. All of us do. We get this tremendous unconditional love. And it is so strong that no matter what's going on around God, whatever God wants, we want, instantaneous. Because we're in such synchronization of that love, whatever God wants, we want. So we realized for us to grow, and God realized this too, we have to leave. We have to leave God. We have to step away from the heavens. We have to step away from our Creator. And no matter what you want to call the Creator, we have to step away from Creator. We have to come into earth school, but we have to walk through a waterfall of forgetfulness, a veil of forgetfulness. Because if we remember, we're still going to be influenced by that love.
Right.
And for us to grow, we can't be influenced by that love. So we have to be able to come down here uninfluenced by that and allow ourselves to make decisions. And I learned very strongly that sometimes my worst decisions were actually good decisions because I learned from them. so that there is purpose in evil. Even when we make a mistake, as long as we're consistently learning and trying to do better, even our evil decisions or bad decisions turn out to be good or for our betterment in the long run. And so it's the long game. It's the long game to take that on, but it also explains why there's evil in life. There has to be that option, unfortunately, but also fortunately, so that we can truly have the agency to choose. And just like if you have a kid, which I've got 2 kids, and you made all their decisions for them, and then they turn 18, they move out and they go to college, what's going to happen to that kid? They're going to be the partier. They're going to be the one that sleeps around with everybody. They're going to be the one that steps away from what necessarily is good in life, because all of their decisions were made for them and they were not able to make any of their own. And that's why we're here. We're here to make decisions, to learn the power of creation, it starts with our thoughts. And that brings us to my last principle in there, which is that to know that we are all one. And to know that because we are all one, for me to hate or hurt or harm anyone is to hate or harm me. And that's when he taught me the principle of the pointed finger, which is kind of a neat principle. So if I'm over here and I'm like, hey, so-and-so's evil, I'm pointing 1 point of energy towards them. I'm pointing 1 point of energy up towards God. But on the back side of that, I'm pointing 3 times as much energy back to myself. So anytime I'm saying negative things about anyone else, I'm saying that negative thing energetically about myself 3 times stronger than I could ever put out towards someone else. But on the reverse of that, if I'm helping, loving, and caretaking for someone or complimenting someone, I'm taking that same positive energy 3 times back toward myself. Mm. And that principle alone can be life-changing, that if you're missing or lacking something, don't try to find it and embody it within. Go out and give that thing to others. The very thing you feel you need, go give it to others. And that's how you'll get 3 times as much inside. Yep. And it's essentially very profound to follow that. And I challenge people, try it. And you'll know it's absolutely a fact of life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was my 10 principles. By then I actually was seeing heaven. I saw that it's a real planet. It's a real space.
It's a planet. So it's a planet or a realm?
It's a realm. But here's what's weird. If you were to take a sun and a planet and combine them, that's what heaven is. So light comes from within the planet itself, and everything on the planet itself glows, like has light emitting off of it. So here in our realm, we have a sun that's exterior to us, that it shines its light on us, and it's the reflection of that light that allows us to perceive color. That's how it works here. But there's no external sun. It's an internal sun. So the sun comes from within there. So that's why there's so many colors that exist there that they can't exist here. Because the light comes from within. It's not reflection. It's not refractory light. It's actually source light. And what's really so crazy to me is that I could perceive and connect to God, the creator of the universe, the Allah, the everything. I was able to embody and connect to God through blades of grass in heaven, through flowers, through water, through trees, through just the air. You could feel this tremendous love of the creator there in everything. Literally everything. Everything had this love. And as I touched down in this space, Drake is leading me this whole way. I touched down in this space. I realized this heaven space is so large, you could fit thousands of our suns inside of it. It's huge, just so much bigger than what we could really comprehend. And as I'm sitting there, just perceiving all of this and experiencing all of this tremendous love coming to me through the grass and through the trees, I recognize that the whole system is built out of this love. The entire system. The system that is for us to live and exist is built out of this love. Completely, all of it is built out of this love.
All right, my friends. So I'm gonna probably wrap things up tonight. Getting a little tired over here. Almost 1:40 in the morning. But I will be sure to drop a link tomorrow when I come back. Hope you enjoyed tonight, and thank you so much. The whole love narrative is pervasive. It pops up over and over and over again, and it's just smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors to get us to buy into the belief system. So I will see you all again soon. Don't forget, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Harold and I will be coming on for part 2 of 3 for the pre-birth memories, and maybe I'll see you there. Thanks so much. There will also be a members Discord group chat as well after the stream with Harold tomorrow. So not sure exactly what time that'll be, but probably sometime between 6:30 and 7:30, 8 at the latest. So we'll see some of you then. Thanks so much. Take care of yourselves, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.